Hey guys, Manchester City have just lost 1-0 to Spurs, and that familiar feeling of dread is coursing all over me again in general. Welcome to Manchester City Football Club if you're new to it somehow. Anyway, guys, before I go too far, I've got to say this channel is sponsored by OneFootball. It's a great app. It really is a great app. It's like genuinely good. So you want to cheer me up loads, go and download that in the link in the description below. It's a great app, I promise you. It'll help you analyze this game in more detail. If you've got the patience to go and do that, go and download that. I promise you it's a decent app. But let's go on to that game. I usually do a structure. I'm going to stick to the structure. But first of all, I'll do some very, very, very initial thoughts about the game. Very frustrating because it felt predictable. It felt really predictable because we all knew it was going to come. We all knew it was going to happen. And guess what? It did happen. But anyway, I'll go into the overview of the game. So basically, we all saw the team lineup. The team lineup was baffling in the extreme. I think we'd all admit that. I still felt confident beforehand. Well, I didn't feel confident. I still wasn't worried. I wasn't too worried. I thought we'd be okay, and what do I know, I guess. In general, though, that team was concerning. It was a concerning team because not only did it play players and maybe lesser players, but it played players who haven't been playing well at the moment. So it's like lower quality players who aren't in form, which is always a recipe for disaster. Now, I'm never comfortable with Otamendi and Laporte together in general. I'm going to start there. I don't think they're a great partnership, and that was never going to work for me. And guess what? It didn't work. And then we brought in Fabian Delph in from the cold. I know injuries may be a force that, but I still expected Laporte to start a left back or something like that with no Mendy and no Zinchenko. Mendy, though, where is Mendy? What's going on there? But the thing for me is I was worried about is because like Delph has not played a game of football. He's played two this in 2019. Burton Albion and Swansea, the only two starts he's had this calendar year. And in general, his form has been terrible. And then to add that alongside a midfield that was very, very leggy in Gundogan and David Silva. Gundogan's a good player and has been in decent form, but as a number 6, as a number 8, he's largely ineffective because he's slow. And he's very good at retaining the ball. And he did that quite well tonight, but we need some energy alongside him. David Silva, as much as I love David Silva, that lineup was baffling because David Silva is badly out of form. And then we go over to Mahrez, a man I was never expecting to see in a million years. I guess I was expecting to see Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva not there, Mahrez in. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Bernardo, I can only presume, is a minor knock, and hopefully he's okay for the weekend, but not involved. Aguero, which was interesting, and then Raheem Sterling. It was a weird one. I was thinking maybe that he was planning to kind of mix things up a little bit because we've got 3 games against Spurs. Some kind of Guardiola minding games, classic Guardiola. Now, Spurs took his game really seriously. Pochettino said beforehand that it was probably the biggest game he's had as a manager at Spurs, and that's probably a fair comment from him as well. And in general, Spurs were largely up for it there. Their team was pretty riled up. The crowd was good. The atmosphere was good in their new stadium. And the nerves were setting in. Into the first half, we had a decent chance early on, though Silva was probably offside. And the game was kind of really tentative. The first few minutes, Delph was kind of pulling inside a lot. It was a shame that I'm not used to so far this season. We haven't seen it that much. We saw a lot last year, but this season it felt quite antiquated. It felt like something that we'd gone past almost, and we were getting no width at all for the first few minutes. Dele Alli had a decent 7 minutes in. Sterling ran up some few players. He had a deflected shot for a corner, and then the big moment, we got a penalty. I personally didn't think it was technically it's a penalty in terms of the rules of UEFA. I don't like the rules. I think they're harsh on Danny Rose. I generally did think it was harsh, if you're being honest. I'm quite old school, and I wouldn't want to give it against us as well if it happened. But it happened, given the rules. They seem silly to me, but they are the rules. Fair play, whatever. Aguero hasn't got a great record in clutch penalties, but I still expect him to score. Gutted. Gundogan maybe on the pitch should take those kind of penalties, even though obviously Aguero's seniority was always going to take that. That feels now like a big moment. A massive moment in this tie. That could have been an away goal. Things could have changed. But still, we have only ourselves to blame for not scoring more. Anyway, 23 minutes in, Ederson made a great save after the referee kind of dummied us up weirdly, and Kane had a decent shot. Fernandinho wind up Kane a little bit more, and then the second half came around. We had a decent little chance from Sterling, drilled at the keeper from Aguero, and then Kane injured himself trying to cripple Delph, basically. And I felt absolutely no sorry at all for Kane. And then basically after that, City kind of controlled the ball a little bit. Aguero went off. We started to play quite well, and then Son hit us in a sucker punch. It didn't go out of play. We kind of stopped, and Ederson maybe could have done better, and Son scored. And after that, he brought on De Bruyne and Tani in the 88th minute. I love you, Pep, but what was that about? We needed inspiration, and we needed a goal. Right, onto the individuals. Ederson maybe could have done better, was largely okay. Walker, is functional. Otamendi and Laporte, I don't like them as a partnership. I never have done. I don't think they were terrible. I think they were okay, but they were obviously looking for some outlets, and Delph wasn't the outlet. I don't think Delph did individually so bad given how little football he's played. It was just a baffling inclusion. I would have rathered anyone who plays regularly to play there at this point. Even I would rather a centre-back there, like Stones. I know that sounds crazy, but someone just comfortable and in form. He was never going to have a great game. He was caught ball watching as well for the goal, so classic Delph there, really. Into midfield, Fernandinho couldn't really get a hold on it. David Silva was distant once again. David Silva, I hope it's just like a form thing and next season will be fine, but the signs are really worrying. He looks slow and he looks slower for. Gundogan once again, he was neat and tidy and recycled possession well. He doesn't have the balls, the creativity that we needed to get us back into the game. Mahrez. There's something about watching Mahrez be so soft and so weak that's really, really frustrating. Like, he's genuinely soft and weak and he gets pushed over quite easily and he takes the wrong decision and it just feels like some matches aren't made to be, and it's like this is, it's struggle. I'm struggling with Mahrez. I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling with him. I can't blame him in general, but it just felt baffling to pick him. It felt baffling to pick him over Sane. It was a game that was crying out for maybe a physical game, and Mahrez is possibly the weakest forward we've got in terms of physicality, so that didn't make any sense whatsoever. Aguero, apart from the penalty miss, he was poor, I guess, in general. Sterling, some really nice runs, but in general, he ran back into defenders at some point when he could have trusted his pace through the middle. He could have shot when he didn't shoot a couple of times. Not a great game. Then De Bruyne and Sane came on with very little time to do anything. Right, on to the overall thing. I'm pissed off. I'm generally very frustrated from that because he felt so predictable. Now, I love you, Guardiola. You're a fantastic coach, better than any of us could possibly ever be at understanding football. But it's almost like he has this mental block. And the Champions League knockout stages does baffle him. He overthinks it a little bit. He gave Spurs far too much credit. With all due respect to Spurs, we should have gone there and took control of that game, but we basically surrendered it. Now, a small part of me thinks maybe he was trying to play this whole free game thing, like, keep it steady and then we'll show him our full hand in the next games and take him by surprise. And he was probably overthinking it a little bit. Looking forward to the Palace game as well, because obviously that's a massive game now. But if anything, we've just kind of, by our own caution, we've gone against our instincts. Like we did against Liverpool last season when we played Gundogan in midfield in this weird kind of right wing position, and we put all the midfielders in and we totally lost our shape and our speed of thought and our processes were totally all over the place. And then it was to leave De Bruyne and Sane on the bench until the 88th minute. What was that about as well? It's just so frustrating to watch because I feel like, in general, we've done this to ourselves. Now, I do think we can turn this around. I think we can. But basically, by not getting an away goal now, Spurs just need to score one, and the game is going to be so hard for us. Really, really hard. Really hard. We're giving ourselves a mountain to climb here. We're probably still favourites in a weird roundabout way because we probably still are because we are a better team than Spurs. I feel like we saw a lot of the best of Spurs tonight. And even then, I don't think they were that great, And that's what makes it more frustrating because I feel like if we'd gone up through any of the gears, not been stuck in neutral, we might have actually done something because Spurs, I think, were there for the taking if we played pretty well. Look, we've had a great season. We're in the FA Cup final. We've won the Carabao Cup, and we probably will win the league if we win the rest of our games. Well, we will win the league if we win the rest of our games. So in general, life is very good for us. But this is still so frustrating because it just feels like a familiar story. Anfield, Monaco. It just happens to us in the Champions League. It's almost like the one thing that gets him is this kind of fascination with the Champions League. He cares about it so much, that he values it so much, that he overcomplicates it. It feels that way anyway. Guardiola is a genius, and I still, obviously still hold him in the highest of regard, but he's only human, and I'm not going to be arrogant to say, I don't know, I feel arrogant saying he got it wrong, because I'm just a fan, but it feels that way. And when all the fan base have that same sinking feeling when they see the lineup at the start, then you think, what are you doing, mate? It's like he picked all the players that you would have doubts about and played them. Literally, if he'd chosen a lineup of senior players, that would have been the lineup you didn't want. Literally would have been that lineup. It was really, really disconcerting to see that lineup in general because it was just spelling trouble. He just spelled trouble, and that's what we got. Where do we go from here? I think in general we have to win comfortably against Palace now. We have to send a message. We have to go into the Spurs game next week. I'm still confident about that game, really. I think we go to the Etihad. I think we can get something there. I think we can be intense. We're going to have to be so intense. Remember the Etihad last season when Liverpool came there and we had a real good go of it? I feel like if we put that same energy and same intensity into this game, we will get something against Spurs, because Spurs, I think, could crumble. But we give them unnecessary kind of energy now that they didn't need to have. We give them a reason there, we give them something to hold on to. And Spurs are too good a team to give those kind of opportunities to. I'm genuinely good about this result. I'm not going to kick off and cry like a baby, but it's just made things and life so much more difficult than it needs to be. Manchester City Football Club have this weird tendency to shoot themselves in the foot sometimes. And it feels like, more than anything, we do it to ourselves. To quote Radiohead, you do it to yourself, you do. And that's what really hurts. It really does, Tom York, it really does. Manchester City have done it to themselves again, and it's just a familiar tale. We could still turn this around. It could still be a learning lesson, but I was hoping to see Manchester City tonight fired up. I was hoping to see a City at the very best, but we got this piss-poor imitation of what Manchester City are. We abandoned our principles. We played a bunch of players that was never going to work together. A bunch of slow, passive players. They had no one with the bollocks or creativity of De Bruyne and Bernardo. I'm hoping it's just a precaution, and we've paid the price for it. Guys, as ever, thank you to these guys scrolling down the side. These are my patrons. You are my heroes. You are my shining light on days like this. I love you all absolute loads. If you're new to this channel, subscribe. And also, I did a video for Squawker. It should be up round about now as well. Go and check out that. It's like this again, but, more fair towards Spurs. Anyway, guys, in a bit.